Shalom, all praises to Yahweh, Ba'Shem Yahushai, Ba'Shem Harakakadash, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone that rule well, and Shalom to all the brothers doing the work of sharing truth. I saw this article on Vice. It's very interesting because it's something that was through a completely different angle, kind of being pushed. Because you had, I think it was over here in the UK, and a few other countries, basically people trying to tie, like it was with Twitter mainly, people trying to tie down linking your online accounts to your ID, and the angle they were going at was what do you call it, was online trolls. They were saying online trolls and death threats and whatnot to basically combat against that. Then you need to link your ID, and that's something they were trying to push through in law. But now they got a different angle, and this one's in the States. So it says it's on Vice. It says you now need a government ID to access Pornhub in Louisiana. This is viewing Pornhub while in Louisiana now requires providing a driver's license to verify your age. A new law makes porn sites liable for content deemed harmful to minors. If it doesn't install age verification technology for anyone accessing them in Louisiana, and it's already affecting how people in the state access Pornhub. So for now, it's only in one state, and it's only affecting, I think, as far as for the ID thing, it's only in on Pornhub presently, I believe. It says the law, which was signed by Louisiana's Democratic Governor John Bel Edwards in June, became effective on the 1st of January. So it says what? The law passed as Act 440 states any commercial entity that knowingly and intentionally publishes or distributes material harmful to minors on the internet from a website that contains a substantial portion of such material shall be held liable if the entity fails to perform reasonable age verification methods. And this is, essentially something that's being showcased as if it's for the benefit to the to stop kids being able to see these things, which it achieves that. But then it sets like a system in place which can very easily be expanded outwards to then cover videos brothers putting out just in general. If you talk about certain things, they can then taint you with a brush and be like, okay, look, this is so harmful, it's so dangerous, that it will start with just, kids can't see it, but then it will spread to where they'll be like, okay, look, we need, you need to verify a certain, you need to verify your identity, or need to show who you are if you're gonna post this, or to even watch it, so you can prove you're a certain age, which they already do with like age restrictions. But then when it goes into the system of how they've set this one up, you can tell it's one that's been set up so it can be expanded outwards to to have wider use, not just with particular websites or what's the term, or just about the kids thing. It can be expanded to other things where they always start with, like, they'll say T errors, them guys will be they'll say, okay, for this we have to restrict, and then they'll always have ways to basically box it in, so they can make it a thing where we're now justified in what's the term, in restricting access. That says what? A substantial portion is 33.3% or more material on a site that's harmful to minors, and also use the vague term harmful to minors because it will go into hair So as a material that's harmful to minors, according to the Act, is defined as appealing to prurient interests, and that consists of pubic hair, anus, blah blah blah. So all the you know, porn related shit. And it says, and lacks serious literary, artistic, political, or scientific value for someone under 18 years. It also states that any commercial entity in violation will be liable to an individual for damages resulting from a minor's access to the material. So yeah, they've basically given it one definition. But then, you know, they can see how this one runs, and then be like, okay, we're gonna expand out. So it's like, if you know, minors can have access to certain political content or certain kind of ideas or certain kinds of influence, essentially make it so they can justify restricting access to talking about certain things, and then always direct it at the children first, or direct it at those that are, you know, most at risk of harm. Then it will regardless apply in the long term, just in general. Because it's like now with YouTube, they already have like age verification. No, what is it called? It's called age restriction, I think it is. You know, if you have certain kind of like video where, you know, you might put certain clips in, then they'll get restricted, age restricted. Then it's like, if you don't like show, like you have to send through details from like your passport, driving license, or credit card or something to basically verify that you're over 18. And if you don't do that, then you won't even be able to see it. And that basically, you know, these systems are being built up, and it's all gonna apply in general to a wider thing. I'll go down this. I'll read this. It says Amos 8:11. It says, "Behold, the days come, saith the Most High Power, that will send a famine in the land, not a famine of bread, nor thirst for water, but of hearing the words of the Lord Yahweh Hashem Yahushua." Yeah, so that's how you're basically gonna see these things utilized. Because this is now, because the main thing is getting a pass through into law, and then once they've set the precedent there, then they can stack more on top of it and be like, okay, look, we're already restricting access to this for these people. What about for this? What about for, like, oh, you know, the mentally handicapped? What about for, you know, those that are influential? What about those that, you know, that they'll expand it, and it will always come under the guise of its care. So it says, Motherboard confirmed for a virtual private network that Pornhub is showing people visiting the site from a Louisiana-based IP address, a page that requires identity verification before entering. Louisiana law now requires us to put in place a process for verifying the age of users who connect to our site from Louisiana, the page said. Oh, okay, so yeah, that's it. Please verify your age. Louisiana also check my age. So it says, when Motherboard tested the verification, Pornhub directed us to All Pass Trust, a third-party identity verification site which connects to LA Wallet? Louisiana something, maybe? I don't know. A digital driver's license for, okay, Louisiana, yeah, Wallet. So it would be a digital driver's license for Louisianans. So it's basically something on the state level that they have where it's all people's IDs are, and then you're tying the verification progress to it. And they say like, oh, Pornhub doesn't do it. But then when you go to it from like the government level, then they'll obviously have, you know, be able to see, okay, what sites you're applying for access to. It becomes another data set to utilize. And, you know, and whenever they build them data sets are getting used. It's just like when it came out with, you know, years back with the Cambridge Analytica, where it came out, oh, they'll, you know, they were selling the IDs, selling the information, customer information. These things have all been pushed out. So what did it say? So it says pornography is destroying our children. Okay, so It says what? Okay, let me just read the whole thing. It says, skipping down. It says pornography is destroying our children, and again, unlimited access to it on the internet. And so, if the pornography companies aren't going to be responsible, I thought we need to go ahead and hold them accountable. Schlegel told WAFB, sex addiction as a diagnosis is highly contentious among clinicians. There's no evidence that sex addiction affects one's brain in the same ways that addiction to substance does. For example, online porn and sex addiction have been controversial topics for decades, and it's been blamed erroneously for everything from mass shootings to sexual assault. So yeah, it's something they're basically going to broaden the scope on. But I think that was, well, I'll keep that. So it says similar age verification proposals have been made in Australia as well as in the UK. And the UK was, I think they got part of it through in the UK. But there was further pushes. The main one was with like saying if you're going to go to somewhere online where you can comment or whatnot or interact, then you'd need to tie a real world ID to it, or your real world identity to it, before you can then engage with, talking online and shit, to stop, they said it was online trolls. So now they got the pornography angle. So I'll read on. It says, in the UK, where the online safety bill has been debated, modified, killed and revived since 2021, sex workers have denounced this and similar attempts at overbroad age verification are harmful to the livelihoods and represent an attack on the industry as a whole. Yeah, because it's a thing where it's like, it's not just like, it's obviously not just children that are gonna get their ID verified. It's gonna be everyone. Everyone that accesses the site is gonna have to have ID, get ID, like basically connect their ID to their account to access this. So then that's why it's like, it can become a backbone where they can say, okay, this is the one, this is, they've got the law for the porno, then they'll have the laws for the, if you want to access certain discussion sites, they might say like, oh, there's certain boards where, it's dangerous materials are being discussed or whatever, so we need these verifications. Yeah, so it says in December, Republican Senator Mike Lee from Utah introduced the Interstate Obscenity Definition Act, which seeks to establish a national definition of obscenity that would apply to obscene content that is transmitted via interstate or foreign communication. So obscenity, which is, it's the same thing, similar thing within the UK, they have the term distress and alarm. Anything that causes distress and alarm, that basically is something that they can pull you up. You can get arrested for that. If it causes, it doesn't even matter. You could just be saying the word rabbit. If this guy's got PTSD related to rabbits, then technically they can utilize that as a justification to arrest you. So they're basically trying to push these things into online spaces as well, which mainly is for what? Coming against the brothers. It says as well as shielding, so interstate or foreign communication, as well as shielding children's retinas from egregious exposure on the net or Screen Act, which would require porn sites to use age verification technology. Advocates for the adult industry say that Lee's proposed act and those like it are part of a broader push to censor sexual speech online, which that's definitely what the direction is going in. I think that's it. But then it's also going to be expanded because they're using harmful to children as a justification. And if you place the first block, you can build off everything else to them being like saying, oh, XYZ is harmful to children, so we're gonna have to add ID, and then have an ID tied to it. It's it's just one state, but they're pushing for it nationally. And then for the kids, people easily push, because there's hella people that have been against the porn industry and whatnot. So that could have been left there just so they can be like, okay, now we're going to restrict this. And then it'll be like, okay, so why don't we also restrict this? Why don't we also restrict this? It says Psalms 94 and 20, it says, shall the throne of iniquity have fellowship with thee, which frameth mischief by a law? Yeah. So the law's been passed, but then it's like, what the future mischief down the line, this Esau's really building up towards. Because as far as it's saying like, oh, okay, well, just for now, I guess it'll be fine. But then where's it going to go to down the line? Down the line, it will then get to, okay, so this is how much it's going to cost, for the kids to have their safety. It's then like everyone else is going to lose X, Y, Z access to certain things. Because, he's the one, the second guy mentioned, who's trying to make it a national thing, which, in the UK, in the US, they have to do it state by state and then federally, separately. But then in the UK, it's one where that's they've been pushing for the ID related to your online identity for a while, and they've also been pushing for the national ID cards over here as well. But yeah, we'll see how far it gets. Revelation 13 and 16, it says what? And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand or in their foreheads. So yeah, when we're dealing with, that mark, you then have what? It's universal. It's something that applies to everyone. And it's funny because the law they passed was what was for the kids, but then for everyone to access the site, they need to bring anyone that's obviously over 18, where they're not even the ones that are being restricted. They have to show their ID. They have to connect, their IP address or whatever details, to get access to the site. They then have to attach that to to get access to the site. They then have to attach that to to the ID, to the government database that they built up of like the driving licenses and whatnot to get access. So it's not it's not as simple as it seems, and that's it's all a precursor to that mark, that beast system, where you have everyone has to deal with a mark. Everyone has to be essentially utilizing it, or they're not going to be able to operate. To be able to buy or sell, regardless of whatever status, so-called status they're at, whether they're a perceived elite, a celeb, or a rich businessman or whatnot. To those on the bottom, man, these homeless bums, these guys working their 9 to 5 jobs, grinding away to keep Esau's system running. They're all gonna have to to comply with the system, or else they get liquidated. It says what? That no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark, or the name of the beast, or the number of his name. Yeah, so no man can buy or sell. And that's why it's related to what? The Chi Psi Sigma. The 666 is the 3 barcodes on the universal barcode, I believe it's called. Always has the 2 on the edge and the 1 in the middle. And that's, the blueprint for how these systems are going to expand. Daniel 8 and 25, and it says, and through his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand. And yeah, these these laws being passed, these restrictions being achieved, and being able to set up these systems is part of that craft. It's part of how he wants to, hem in and keep total control, because that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to become like the Most High and have that total control, which is why he's saying like, okay, I'm gonna say, I'm gonna set, the rules for what, what's acceptable, what's lawful, what's not, which is completely averse to Yahweh Hashem Yahshua's law, the law, statutes, and commandments, the righteous law, statutes, and commandments. He's basically just being like, okay, I'm gonna be able to do my own, set things up on my own, have control over people, have them, have to comply with whatever I desire, and have that in a way where everyone's so restricted they can never come against it. And this is something that's it's a key. It's a block inside building what that pyramid Esau's trying to complete, man. Trying to put the capstone on top of. And for his policy also, he shall cause craft to prosper in his hand, and he shall magnify himself in his heart, and by peace shall destroy many. He shall also stand up against the prince of princes, but he shall be broken without hand. Yeah, so by peace shall destroy many. That's a big thing. It's, you know, Esau's got that forked tongue that speaks in two ways, where it's, you know, apparently being spoken like, oh, this is gonna be something where it'll be to our, you know, to our benefit. You know, we'll protect the kids from watching porn, but then in the long term, what is it? It's building the blocks of that system where all the online, you know, your online identity is all trackable and traceable, and they can tie it to you in real life. Where it's like, you know, in China and certain other countries, where it's like you say certain things online, you know, you're getting grabbed up, you're getting disappeared, you're getting dangled by your ankles out of a you know, a skyscraper. But yeah, like it said, he's gonna come against the Prince of Princes. Yeah, I'm sure he's gonna done him, man. All of that he's, you know, trying to establish. He'll establish it to a certain extent. It will get the mark out. But then what? It's not all gonna go in his favor in the long term, in the long run. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.